Welcome back to the channel USD Coins, where we explore some of the most fascinating stories in numismatics, rare coins, and hidden treasures that could be lying right in your pocket change. Today's story is a deep dive into a coin that has taken the coin collecting world by storm, a simple-looking quarter that could easily be overlooked, but might just be worth a staggering $4.3 million. Yes, we're talking about the elusive and incredibly valuable 1989 Liberty Quarter Dollar from the United States, a coin that has reached mythical status due to a combination of rare errors, minting anomalies, and the mystery surrounding its origin. Now, before we jump into the intricate details and jaw-dropping errors that make this coin so special, it's worth noting that most quarters minted in 1989 are worth exactly 25 cents. You've probably used them at a vending machine, tossed them in a tip jar, or found one at the bottom of your junk drawer. But what if one of those ordinary-looking quarters turned out to be an ultra-rare variant that collectors are willing to pay millions to get their hands on? That's where this story gets exciting, and frankly, unbelievable at times. The year 1989 wasn't exactly the most dramatic year in American coinage. It didn't feature a new design, it wasn't an anniversary year, and it wasn't part of any commemorative series. The Washington Quarter, featuring the iconic bust of George Washington on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse, was still in circulation and had been since 1932. So what makes a 1989 quarter potentially worth over $4 million? The answer lies in a bizarre confluence of minting errors, die anomalies, metal composition mix-ups, and mysterious mint marks that shouldn't exist. This isn't just one error, but rather a collection of several incredibly rare and sometimes overlapping mistakes that contribute to this astronomical value. First, let's talk about one of the key elements that has sent collectors into a frenzy: the mint mark. In 1989, quarters were minted at several different U.S. mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia typically did not carry a mint mark, while those from Denver bore a small d, and those from San Francisco, generally proof coins, carried an S. However, one version of the 1989 Liberty Quarter has been discovered with a mysterious W mint mark, which traditionally represents the West Point Mint in New York. The West Point Mint was not in the business of minting quarters for circulation in 1989, and even though it had struck some commemorative coins, no official records indicate it struck any circulation quarters that year. So where did this mysterious W mint mark come from? Is it a rogue die? A clandestine test strike? An experimental issue that was never meant to leave the mint? Whatever the origin, its presence on a 1989 quarter has created speculation and frenzy in the numismatic world. Only a handful of such coins are rumored to exist, and their authenticity has been hotly debated by experts. Yet, every time one surfaces or is rumored to change hands, the value skyrockets due to its rarity and the sheer curiosity surrounding it, but the mint mark is just the tip of the iceberg. There are even more astonishing errors that push the value of this quarter into the millions. For instance, some 1989 quarters have been found to have dramatic double dies. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin is improperly manufactured, causing the design to be struck twice in slightly offset positions. This can result in noticeable doubling on key elements of the coin such as the date, the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "Liberty." On a 1989 double die quarter, these features can appear blurred, shadowed, or look like they have a ghosted twin right next to them. Such errors are extremely rare, especially when the doubling is strong and clearly visible to the naked eye. In some cases, the doubling affects both the obverse and the reverse of the coin, which is nearly unheard of. Coins with strong double die errors have sold for thousands, and when combined with other errors like the wrong mint mark or incorrect planchet composition, the value can soar into the millions. A double die 1989 quarter with the mysterious W mint mark and struck on the wrong planchet? That's a holy grail for collectors. Speaking of planchets, the blank metal discs that are used to strike coins, another mind-boggling error involves the use of the wrong metal composition. Most quarters from 1989 are made of a copper-nickel clad composition. However, some incredibly rare examples have been found struck on planchets meant for other coins, such as those intended for dimes, nickels, or even foreign currency. These errors are incredibly rare because the US Mint has tight controls over its coin production, but mistakes do happen, especially when planchets get mixed up in the coin press or when dies are tested during transition periods. One of the most famous planchet errors involves a 1989 quarter struck on a solid silver planchet, something that should not have happened, as silver was phased out of quarters for circulation by the mid-1960s. It's possible that leftover silver blanks from earlier mintings or from commemorative programs accidentally made their way into the press. A 1989 quarter struck on a silver planchet not only weighs differently from standard coins but also rings with a distinctive chime when dropped, much like the sound of a silver dollar. These quarters are exceptionally rare and have been authenticated by major grading services, with some selling for tens of thousands of dollars even without additional errors. Now imagine a coin that combines multiple anomalies, a 1989 quarter with a double die obverse and reverse, struck on a silver planchet, bearing a mysterious W mint mark and possibly even misaligned or off-center. That's where we get into the multi-million-dollar territory. One such coin is rumored to exist in a private collection, having traded hands quietly between elite collectors and investors. While the exact price remains speculative, auction whispers and private sale rumors place its value at around $4.3 million. That's not just impressive, it's almost surreal. There are other types of errors and anomalies that make some 1989 quarters exceptionally valuable. For instance, some have off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the coin was not properly aligned during striking. The degree of misalignment greatly affects the value. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if all the design elements are still partially visible. Clipped planchets are another error type found in some rare 1989 quarters. These occur when the blank planchet is improperly cut from the metal sheet, resulting in a coin that appears to have a missing bite or chunk. These clips can be curved, straight, or irregular, and their presence can increase a coin's value substantially, especially when they occur in combination with other errors. Then there's the case of die cracks and cuds. These are flaws that develop over time as the coin dies wear out. A die crack appears as a raised line on the coin and often adds character to the piece. A cud is more dramatic, appearing as a blob or lump of metal on the coin's surface where part of the die has broken off entirely. Some 1989 quarters exhibit spectacular cuds that obscure entire parts of the coin, adding to their appeal among error collectors. One particularly interesting story involves a 1989 quarter that was discovered with a triple strike, a coin that was struck not once, not twice, but 3 times by the press, each time slightly rotated. The resulting image is chaotic, with overlapping features, mangled lettering, and ghostly images of George Washington's profile appearing in a spiraling pattern. It's a freak accident of the minting process and a true one-of-a-kind specimen. All of these rare errors, the mysterious mint marks, the planchet mix-ups, the multiple strikes, and the dramatic die varieties, converge to create a perfect storm of numismatic value. It's not just about one small error, but the incredible rarity of multiple anomalies appearing together on a single coin. That's what makes a coin like the $4.3 million 1989 Liberty Quarter Dollar so exciting, so mysterious, and so valuable. But there's also the psychological factor in coin collecting, the allure of the unknown, the thrill of the hunt. Many collectors are driven not just by financial gain, but by the hope that they might uncover a hidden treasure in a roll of change, at a flea market, or even inside an old coin jar inherited from a relative. The idea that a coin worth millions could be hiding in plain sight makes stories like this all the more compelling. So, what are the odds of actually finding one of these legendary 1989 error quarters? Statistically speaking, they are astronomically low. Only a few confirmed examples have ever surfaced, and even fewer possess the combination of errors that would make them worth millions. However, the dream persists, and for many collectors, that's enough to keep the search going. If you do happen to come across a 1989 quarter that looks unusual, perhaps the design appears off-center, the color looks different, or you spot a strange mint mark, it's worth taking a closer look. We recommend weighing it, comparing it to a known standard quarter, and checking for any signs of doubling or misalignment. If something seems off, it might be time to get that coin authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. They have the tools and expertise to determine if your quarter is a run-of-the-mill example or a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Today's deep dive will leave you absolutely stunned, because we're about to unravel the mysterious tale behind one of the most intriguing and valuable modern coins to have ever passed through American hands, the 1998 P Liberty Quarter Dollar. Yes, you heard that right, a seemingly ordinary quarter from 1998, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, now linked to a mind-blowing estimated value of $3.3 million due to its incredibly rare errors and unusual minting anomalies. Sit tight, because this story is packed with fascinating twists, historical context, detailed breakdowns of the mistakes that make it so valuable, and the possibilities behind how such a coin even came into existence. The journey of the 1998 P quarter doesn't begin with anything extraordinary at first glance. For most people, a quarter is just another coin used to pay for parking, gum at the gas station, or thrown into a change jar. Millions of these quarters were produced. In fact, over 896 million of the 1998 quarters bearing the P Mint mark, indicating they were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, rolled off the presses. But among those hundreds of millions, there exists an almost mythical coin, a 1 in a billion anomaly that defies conventional minting logic. The value isn't just in the age of the coin or in the metal it's made of, it's in the mistakes, the kinds of flaws that should never happen, especially not in the age of advanced minting technology. But they did. And what makes the story even more compelling is the level of perfection in the imperfection, if you will. A coin riddled with errors, but somehow striking collectors as something closer to a masterpiece. To understand why a 1998 quarter could be worth millions, we need to go back and understand what a perfect quarter looks like, and how this one differs dramatically. The standard 1998 quarter features the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse, facing left, with the word Liberty above his head, "In God We Trust," on the left side, and the mint mark, P, on the right. Below is the year, 1998. The reverse side has the iconic eagle with wings spread wide, clutching a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. Standard in design, standard in finish. Nothing in this description suggests a coin could be worth anything more than its face value. However, the specific 1998 P quarter in question is no ordinary coin. For those lucky, or perhaps just observant, enough to find one of these rare anomalies, they noticed something odd. From the moment the coin is viewed under magnification, a trained eye can detect a range of serious minting errors. This includes double dies, off-center strikes, rotated dies, planchet errors, and some of the most bizarre examples of misplaced mint marks. We'll go into each of these in a minute, but for now, imagine holding a coin that looks like it might have been smuggled out of a secret experimental mint, a coin that seems to whisper a story of mechanical failure, human error, or maybe even deliberate sabotage. The 1998 P Liberty quarter that's valued at $3.3 million isn't valuable just because of one error. It's the combination of multiple rare errors that makes it a numismatic unicorn. Among the most striking of these is the double die obverse, often referred to as a DDO. A double die error occurs when the coin die itself, the tool used to stamp the image onto the blank coin, is misaligned during the hubbing process. The result is a doubling of the image, which is most visible in the lettering, especially in Liberty and In God We Trust. In the 1998 P error coin, these doubled elements are dramatic, visible even without magnification in some cases. But it doesn't stop there. Another error that adds to the value of this quarter is the off-center strike. Coins are supposed to be struck directly in the center, but in this specimen, the image is shifted significantly to one side, revealing the raw planchet on the edge. The degree of off-center striking is unusual, not so slight as to be negligible, and not so extreme as to render the coin unidentifiable. It's right in that perfect sweet spot where collectors go wild. It shows the mistake clearly but doesn't ruin the identity of the coin. It becomes art born out of error. Then there's the rotated die error. Normally, when a coin is flipped over from top to bottom, the reverse image should be perfectly upright. But with a rotated die, the reverse is turned slightly, or dramatically, off its axis. In the known 1998 P error coin, the reverse rotation is substantial, making it a clear candidate for high-end collectors looking for rare and valuable errors. But perhaps the most shocking error, the one that's hardest to explain away, involves the mint mark itself. In normal production, the mint mark, P for Philadelphia, is struck in the correct location near the bust of George Washington. But in this rare quarter, the mint mark appears to be misaligned, almost floating outside the normal boundary, possibly even showing traces of a second conflicting mark, suggesting a repunched mint mark or a phantom mint mark from another die. There is ongoing debate among experts about whether this indicates an unauthorized or experimental die was used, and if that's the case, it could suggest the coin was struck under special conditions, perhaps even as a test, never meant for circulation. Another critical factor adding to the coin's astronomical valuation is the surface composition of the coin. Typically, quarters from this era are clad, a copper-nickel composition, but early metallurgical tests on the known rare specimen suggest the possibility that it was struck on an experimental planchet. Some believe this planchet was intended for a different coin entirely, maybe even a foreign currency, as the U.S. Mint has sometimes contracted to produce coins for other nations. If this theory proves accurate, it would make the 1998 P quarter an example of a so-called wrong planchet error, a rare and highly collectible variety that almost always commands premium prices. Let's not forget strike pressure errors. Many coins struck during routine minting can have slight variations in strike strength. However, the rare 1998 P quarter has what experts describe as an overstruck or multi-strike appearance, where it looks like the coin was struck more than once, not unusual in itself, but what's strange is that it shows layered detail, overlapping impressions, almost as though multiple dies were involved. Such errors point to either an equipment malfunction or possibly even human tampering, which would be highly unusual, but not impossible. In a busy mint environment, all these errors, when viewed in isolation, are certainly interesting, but it's the combination of them that makes this coin a true phenomenon. You might find a double die here, an off-center strike there, but all in one coin. That's practically unheard of. It's as if the universe conspired to pack every possible minting error into a single piece of metal no larger than a cookie. That's what makes collectors lose their minds. The 1998 P Liberty quarter becomes a freak of nature in the numismatic world, like a two-headed snake or an albino lion. Rare, unnatural, and highly sought after, but how did such a coin make it out of the mint at all? That's the million-dollar question, or perhaps more accurately, the $3.3 million question. Mints are supposed to have rigorous quality control procedures. Defective coins are supposed to be caught, discarded, and melted down. So how does a coin like this escape? One theory is that during busy production periods, especially during shifts where speed is prioritized, some coins slip through undetected. Another theory, darker and more controversial, is that rogue employees within the mint may have intentionally released error coins, either for profit or as a curiosity. There is historical precedent for this. In the past, there have been documented cases of mint employees creating error coins or striking coins using retired dies, experimental blanks, or even test designs. These midnight strikes, as they're often called, have occasionally surfaced in the collector market, often decades later. If the 1998 P quarter is one of these, its backstory could involve intrigue, secrecy, and maybe even a cover-up. Let's also talk about provenance, a fancy term in the collecting world for the documented history of an item. The first known specimen of the rare 1998 P error quarter was reportedly discovered in a mixed coin roll purchased from a bank in the early 2000s. The individual who found it initially thought it was a joke, or perhaps a counterfeit. But upon closer examination and verification by professional grading services, it was confirmed to be authentic. And from that moment, the legend began. Coin grading agencies like PCGS and NGC have since authenticated and encapsulated the specimen, assigning it a designation that reflects its exceptional rarity and condition. The coin has been displayed at multiple conventions, always drawing crowds and curiosity. Offers have reportedly been made in excess of $3 million, with private collectors competing for ownership of what's become something of a holy grail in modern American numismatics. But here's what might be the most fascinating part of this entire story: there could be more of them out there. That's right, it's entirely possible that other examples of the era late in 1998 P quarter exist, sitting unnoticed in change jars, in forgotten rolls at banks, or in old coin albums in attics. It's this possibility that fuels the excitement, the ongoing search. For many collectors, this coin represents the dream, the chance to find a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight.